I am honored and excited to introduce the next speaker for today. This is somebody that I've actually known for a very long time, someone who I would call a great friend. He was at my wedding. We are business partners, and he has been someone who's been able to do life with me. We've been able to do life together, break bread, build businesses together, have successes together, have failures together. And if there's something that I know about Mr. Darik Alexander is that he is destined for greatness. This is somebody who is extremely talented. This is somebody who has a massive, massive heart. And this is somebody that I have the honor of calling a great friend. And today, Darik is going to be talking to you about social media, how to build your brand, how to generate leads, how to take advantage of the world that we live in today. The online world. We are so connected with so many people, and there are new strategies. There are strategies that you can leverage to help you build your business. Darik and I, we actually started our network marketing journey together. It was about 8 years ago. I remember the very first time that I met Darik. We were actually in another company, it was a health and wellness company, and this guy was actually the most skeptical person that I had ever met before in my business. It took a long time to get Darik involved. He was that dude that would show up at the meeting and would just sit there with his arms crossed because he knew that this just wasn't real, didn't work. And I remember when he made the decision to get on board, when he saw what this was, what this industry could be, and he gave it a chance. He made a commitment of 90 days. I don't know if he remembers this, but he made a 90-day commitment. You know what? I'm going to go all in for 90 days. I'm going to give this a shot. And if it works, the rest is history. I cannot imagine what would have happened if he wouldn't have gotten on board. The person that actually got me involved in the network marketing industry quit about a week later. And this goes back to what Nick was talking about. And one tip that I want to give you guys, when you are sharing this Auvoria Prime experience is that to overcome that fear of failure, to overcome that fear of rejection, share it because of the impact that it's had on your life, because you want that for them, because you want that for, and I do not know where I would be if I didn't get involved in this industry. I do not know where we would be if we didn't say yes to network marketing. It has absolutely changed our life. The individual that you get to hear from next, Mr. Darik Alexander, is someone who can teach you a great deal about this space. So with that being said, give me some sevens in the chat and welcome to the screen, Mr. Darik Alexander.
Kanoa, thank you so much for that introduction. Wow, you're making me look awesome, like he has for every single person that's been speaking at this virtual event over the last few hours we've had here. And I want to thank you. It really means a lot, and I'm really impressed by all the people that have spoken, and it is something that kind of reminds me of why I got into the space. And if you are at a period right now in the industry where you're new, where this is something that you're starting to embark on, you just popped on this virtual event, but maybe you've only been involved for a week or so, I want to tell you something. I want you to understand that right now you're really excited about the cash flow and ranking up and making money and having more freedom. But here's what you're not thinking about, and here's what you don't realize, which is something that's so special and it's so much more profound than what you're already thinking you're going to achieve when you embark with Auvoria Prime. And that's the relationships that don't exist yet that you're gonna make. The closest people in my life, the people I care the most about in my life, are the people that I'm fortunate enough to work and serve every single day within this company to help them reach their goals. It is the biggest blessing I could possibly have, that the people that I get to hang out with every single day on virtual calls, on Zooms, and in person, and all around the world are people that are on the exact same mission that I am. And that's really the challenge that we have in life, isn't it? We have these huge dreams, we have these huge things we want to accomplish, but sometimes we feel alone. We feel like we're the only ones that have this vision for our lives for better, that want to do more, but yet we don't have the vehicle, and we don't have the association. We have the people every single day. And when you look at success, and you look at some of the most successful people in the world, what did they always have? They always had a fellowship. They had a collection of people that saw what they saw, believed what they believed, and believed in each other just as much as they believed in themselves. And sometimes when they didn't believe in themselves just as much, they could lean on other people to uplift them and take them where they need to go. And I truly pray that you get that same community that I've been fortunate enough to be blessed with in Auvoria Prime. And if you're brand new, just know that what you're about to learn is gonna help you get there that much quicker. So what are we talking about? We're talking about social storytelling in your business. And when I say social storytelling, this really is the epitome of what is required to get someone that's brand new, you just got involved, you just swiped the credit card, you just went, oh my gosh, I'm paying for something now, what do I do? This is what gets you to a point where you don't have to have that fear anymore. Because we all understand, especially if you're tight on cash, if money's not something you have an abundance of, we all understand what it's like to have a reoccurring subscription start coming in, right? Paying for something like this is different than buying a Starbucks coffee, right? But with this comes immense amount of responsibility, because that same commitment that you're making to pay for our services month to month to month is going to be the same financial commitment that other people will make that's going to give you newfound freedom that you didn't even know you could possibly create for yourself. It's that ability to have your monthly order go through month to month for our services that allows, as you scale an organization, you to have newfound freedom. And when we talk about storytelling, what we're really doing is making sure we're not actually selling. See, most people, they've been told their whole life in order to get where you need to sell. And some of you may not realize that selling is the highest paid profession in the world. And why is that? Because selling requires a transaction of emotion. We live in a world today where we spend so much of our time inundated in our phones and in these boxes and these computers that sit in our pockets. It's created a dynamic where we're not willing to get connected with people face to face, eye to eye, heart to heart. And what that does is it allows people to build maybe a higher IQ, while all the information in the world can be gathered with the touch of a button on Google, but it lowers their EQ, their emotional intelligence. And if you can increase your emotional intelligence, the world will open so many doors for you you cannot even begin to imagine. When I was going to school, I didn't always have the highest IQ, but I tried the best I could to relate to people. And one thing I realized was the most successful people in the world, they didn't sell. We've heard our whole lives that selling is something to be afraid of. But the best in the world, the people that I respected and that I was mentored by, they said, you're never actually selling. You're always storytelling. See, the power of a story does the exact same intent that selling does, but the person you're sharing it with doesn't feel the negative connotations that are normally felt when you're selling or when someone is being sold. If you ever went to a car dealership to buy a new car, you know that feeling. You feel anxiety just walking on the lot because you know you're about to be sold. There are certain things in the world when we operate with other human beings that you can't articulate or describe, but we just feel. And those feelings either leave you with an impression of increase, or those feelings leave you with an impression of decrease. No human interaction leaves one person feeling middle ground. Every human interaction you have, even if it's a minute amount, will leave increase or decrease in your life. Now, if someone taught you to sell and they told you to just get in touch with people you know and start pitching this opportunity, they probably didn't really know what they were talking about. Because your main intention is to ask yourself, how could I leave an impression of increase on the people that I want to get involved in this business while simultaneously getting them involved in my business? How you do that is understanding the sequences that are needed in telling a fundamental story. And your story, while different than anyone else's in the world, is also similar. So, how do you tell a story when you don't have one? Because some of you are probably saying to yourself right now, I just got involved. I don't have a story. How in the world am I supposed to share my story with people if I don't have one? 9 years ago, I asked myself that same question when I was with Kano and I swiped that credit card. Because I hadn't made any money. I knew nothing about this industry. I had no experience in sales. I was $75,000 in student loan debt, and the most I ever made was $9 an hour at 19 years old. And I said, what am I gonna do? And what makes me unique and different than anyone else? But I created a plan for myself, and I began to work in that story. So here's what happened. This is how I used this strategy when I was 19 years old. You're gonna look at two photos here. When I first got involved in this industry, like I said, I didn't have any story. My biggest fear was that I wouldn't be able to get people to join my business if I hadn't made money. Because I knew money talked. The credibility you get when you get that first check or that first commission is fundamental in sharing something that makes someone go, oh, if they did it, I can do it. But if you don't have that first check yet, what do you do? And I didn't know what that answer was. And for a long time, the first probably week or two of my business, there was a lot of inaction, which first off is the worst thing you want to do. As soon as that card swipes, it's time to roll. It's time to go. And if you're wondering, well, how do I tell a story that doesn't exist yet? The truth of the matter is that your story actually does exist. You just don't know it yet. So in this photo to the left, I'm with one of my best friends from high school, and I'm actually in my backyard, and it looks like I'm doing something, right? Like I'm building, I'm growing the business. Well, here's what actually went down. I made a list of people, and I called the first person. He was one of my best friends. And when I called him, I got on the phone with him, and I said, hey, I just got involved in this business. I'm really excited about it. I think we could absolutely crush it together. It's going to work. And it's going to be really successful. And, I haven't actually built a business before, but I'm a really enthusiastic guy. You know that because we've known each other for 12 years. And I know you trust me, so just swipe your credit card. And guess what? He didn't. He didn't do it. And I went, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? He's not even going to join? My one friend that I thought would join over anyone else? How am I going to change my circumstance now if the one person I thought I could rely on wasn't all in? So I took a second and I thought, well, who do I know in this company that is getting results? So for you right now watching this, going, I don't have results yet. I haven't made money. I haven't created any type of thing that's relevant to actually get results. Do you know one person that has? One person. Did someone sponsor you into this business? Did the person that sponsored you get sponsored by someone else, who got sponsored by someone else and someone else and someone else? In that chain, is there anyone that's made a commission from this company? The obvious answer is yes. What's their story? What happened to them? Why is that unique and why is that powerful? Because when I didn't have credibility, what I did on the second call with someone that I knew, I said, hey, let me just do this. I just want to share with you my story on how I stumbled upon this and really the person that I met and what happened to them. And after I explain it, if you have any questions, let me know. Is that fair enough? And then I told their story in the context of my own. And now there's credibility because I'm sharing the narrative of someone else. The narrative is what matters, not the shoes that it's in. So how do you tell a story when you don't have one yet? The first thing you do is you speak in the third person. So instead of me getting on the phone with someone and saying, well, this is going to work because we have this product and this service and we have this corporate staff and we have no physical office because it's all virtual, and you give them all the benefits, right? All the features and benefits. No one cares about that. The whole point of getting someone involved is to make sure you capitalize on how they feel. If you don't shift their emotional EQ, if you don't shift how they feel, then they're never going to make any type of buying decision, because every single buying decision that we make in our entire life is fundamentally predicated on our emotions. Every single buying decision we choose. Every single time you swipe your credit card, it is predicated on a positive emotion or a negative emotion. So what I began to do is I began to explain the story of one of my upline and how I met them. So for you, who is someone that you met that has gotten results, that has seen success, that has grown their account? And explain what that person told you about this company in your story. So maybe, for example, you got in touch with Carlos Sanders on a phone call, and he was someone that was making thousands of dollars a week building this business, that had created thousands of people using this technology and built this amazing brand. You're telling in your story what he told you and what your conversation was, because your prospect is listening to it the same way you were listening to Carlos. It's layers of inception here that you're doing. So when you speak in the third person, you're still selling, but you're doing it in a narrative that creates receptivity and creates people to be interested in what you're actually talking about without any skepticism or any hesitation, but actually excitement, because they're opening their posture and their ability to listen with an open mind. The next piece you do is you lean on the shoulders of the other people. Some of you make these excuses that there's no one that you're connected with to help you. I hear this all the time. They go, oh, I don't have any upline, or my upline didn't help me. When I first got involved in this industry, literally like Kanoa, some of the people that I worked with when I first got started quit. And I thought, oh, you told me I was supposed to call this person to lean on, but this person stopped the business a week after I joined. They gave me all this hope and they quit. So what's going to happen to me? So you have this expectation that most of the people that you were going to lean on will be able to guide you. That could be the case, but what you'll come to find is a lot of people talk a big talk. When the going gets tough, they can't balance the emotional difficulty that it takes when people tell them, no, I'm not about it, and reject them. Because we have so much pride that the fear of getting involved with something with the potential of it not working overcomes the excitement of it potentially working. So I told myself, I have to balance that emotions of it not working more or less than the emotions of it working. So I asked, who has seen success up the chain of my business? Who above me has results that I want? So I ask you, go do some digging. Ask the person that sponsored you, hey, who do you look up to that sponsored you? They'll give you a sea of names. Can I get on a call with them? Can I connect with them? And they'll probably get you on a call with them. And finally, you'll find some person that has achieved what you're trying to achieve. Maybe they're making $500 a month. Maybe they're making $2,500 a month. But you'll find someone that has done something that is worth sharing. And you go, hey, what's your story? How'd you do it? And they will tell you their story of how you did it. Now, we've all learned to lean on the success of others, right? Well, if you find someone up the chain of command that's created success for themselves and they share their story, don't you think it would make sense for you to do the exact same and duplicate part of that story as well? And then the last piece is you cast vision near the end of where you plan to go. So when you're explaining your narrative, and we will go into sequence of the story, near the very end, if you haven't created money yet or any type of result, you may think, well, I don't know what to leave as the ending of the story in a positive way if I haven't been able to make any money. But what you do is you have the depth of vision to explain what your goal is. So when Kanoa talked about my 90-day plan, I would literally tell people on the phone, I go, hey, here's my goal. My goal is in 90 days to earn enough money from this company where every single month the amount of money I make covers the amount I need to spend. Because think about it. If I make enough money every month that covers the amount that I need to spend, I broke even in $1 billion industry. Now, I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of companies in the world that take years to break even. They take years to turn a profit. They spend so much money on liabilities trying to build their business and scale. If they actually can break even, while most get shut down or have to quit and shut shop, if I'm able to actually break even, then I'm in a position where I've done what millions, literally millions of people have never been able to do. I'm earning enough money in a company that I built, in a business that I built, where I don't have to take the money every single month and have it go down in my checking account. I can earn enough every month that covers what I'm getting. That is a story. That's doing something that many people haven't done. And if you haven't done it, you say, and then my goal is to do it in 90 days, and I've already put in one person. And I don't need to put in 3 to do it. I already put in one person within 2 weeks. If I can put in one person in 2 weeks, and I have 3 months to hit this goal, you think I can't get 2 more people in the next 2 months? And then the last thing they remember is what you just said, that you've already put in one person, your goal is to get 3, and you did it within your first 2 weeks, and then you have 2 months left to get 2 people. So whatever that format is for you, whatever that goal is for you, you take the small wins that you've created for yourself since you got involved, and you capitalize that win as a success point in your story. When you hit these 6, 7-figure ranks, it's easier to say things like, oh, I set this goal to break even, and now I'm making $500,000 a day. Well, yeah, no crap. Everyone's gonna be like, well, okay, that's awesome. Good for you. But it's not relatable. Earning enough money every single month where you don't have to worry about the cost of the business is relatable. Because every single person that you talk with is asking one question subconsciously in their mind without telling you. How do I buy this and get all the opportunity cost to make as much money as I possibly can while mitigating all of the risk to spend money every single month on something with no hindsight or no foresight on earning enough to cover that monthly order? And if you can capitalize on that for every single person and give them a clear path to do that, then because you're tapping into their emotional decision making, they'll swipe the card every single time because they have a plan to not have to worry about it getting credited every single month, which works for you and works for them. So let's talk about this. Let's combine your story and sequences. Because what you're gonna learn with story sequencing, this is just a strategy that we use, is that while every single person has a different story in this industry, it's kind of funny, but you'll come to find that most people actually have very similar occurrences in this industry. Most people, even though they have a different story, have really similar stories as well. And I'm gonna prove this to you right now. So let's talk about you, all right? In your journey, at any point, did you hear about Auvoria Prime from someone? I think everyone in the company would say yes, because they had to be involved in the company by hearing about it from someone. So just to make sure we're clear, everyone has heard about this from somebody. All right, well, let me ask you this. When that person talked to you, Did you have any preconceived notions or skepticism about the legitimacy of the company? I would almost guarantee you probably had at least one preconceived notion or one potential objection about the legitimacy of the company or any company. Anything you hear, you're going to have layers of skepticism. It's just a fundamental dynamic of a human to be skeptical, like I was when I first heard about this industry. All right, well, what about this? The person you heard about it from, were they able to explain to you why it was legitimate, or were they able to also, if not them, leverage someone else or a tool that was more credible to explain it? What you're going to come to find is, while every single person in this industry's story is different, every person's story is actually not. Everyone's story is pretty similar. You heard about this from someone, correct? Once you heard about it, you were either ready to join or you weren't. Most people probably weren't. You then got more information, whether it's through a person, a video, a virtual conference, that then answered a lot of the questions that were popping up in your head as to why it was working and then how it could work for you. And then you were able to shift from wondering if this was an actual legitimate company to getting excited about how you could be a leader in it. So when you realize that a lot of the stories that people have, while they're different, are actually similar, you can create sequences in the story. And what that does is the narrative allows you to build sequences in other people's stories. So as you're building a team, if someone is afraid to quote unquote sell or afraid to pitch or afraid to get people involved, what they're really telling me is, hey, Darik, I'm not confident in my own personal story with this company yet, and I need help figuring out how to sequence my story so I can be on phone calls all day, Zoom calls all night, sharing my story, getting people involved. Because I'll tell you right now, the person in this industry that shares the story the most wins. This is an industry where you literally speak your reality into existence. If you ask where I'm at and where you're at, and if I'm ahead of you, the only reason why is because if we counted the reps of times that my story has been shared to yours, it's just higher. That's literally it. So you have to develop the story. So, and then the last one, of course, is that you got involved because you're in the company. So when you look at this, you have to accept the fact that every single story is fundamentally similar in its own right. Because the very fact that you heard about AP and are now in AP means your story can be duplicatable. This is important because the goal is to have an organization of tens and hundreds of thousands of people that are all sharing their own individual stories with excitement and enthusiasm and passion. So let's start going through the sequences. I want you guys to take notes on this because this is how we're going to develop your story. So think of your own story with this. Sequence 1 is called the permission to sell. Because remember, we're not selling, we're storytelling. So here's an example of how you'd open up a call. This is just me actually scripting some stuff out. Now, don't take this word for word, but use this so you have intention in your conversations. So as you're talking to someone, right? Hey, what's your name? My name's Jake. Cool. My name's Susan. Yada, yada. You're going back and forth. You eventually, once you kind of build that brief level of rapport, the first 30 seconds of the conversation, you just go, well, hey, Jake, why don't we do this? How about I just briefly share with you my experience and my story with AP since I got involved, how it's really just impacted me, and then after, I can just answer any questions and support you. Does that sound fair enough? Why is that important? Because when you ask them to tell your story, what you're subconsciously doing is saying, hey, I'd like to have you join this business and I'd like to sell you, but I'd like to sell you without you knowing that I'm selling to you right now. Will you say yes to me selling to you so I can tell you all the reasons why you should join this business, but do it in a way where you don't know I'm selling to you? And when they say yes, they're subconsciously affirming their decision to let you sell. Imagine if you went to a car dealership and the person went, hey, how's it going? I'm going to tell you all the reasons why you should buy this thing without any cares to your objections or your skepticism, and I'm going to do it in a way where I'm going to force you to like me even though I'm going to make you spend money. Is that cool? You'd be like, no, absolutely not. But if you do it this way, you're forcing the person in a sense, right? Not literally forcing, but you're influencing them to say, yes, I would like to hear your story, because that gives you permission to then open up what they need to know, what they need to hear to begin and join your team. So sequence 2. Sequence 2 is your first exposure. You're explaining how you first heard about Auvoria Prime. Now, every person heard about Auvoria Prime differently, but you all didn't as well. You either heard about it from a person, you either heard about it from a video, you heard about it from a virtual event, you heard about it from a text, from an Instagram ad, you heard about it from something or someone. So, I personally always wanted to learn more about trading, but for just me, I never really had anyone that I knew that actually was a successful trader who could just show me the way. But for me personally, it was until I met Matt that they were able to share with me these consistent results they were getting once they got involved with AP. So notice, I'm sharing the first exposure I had with someone of credibility, okay? So maybe Matt was that first person for me. So what makes someone credible? I think one of two things, or both. They're making money with the products, they're getting positive results with the products, or they're making money with the business. They have a team, they're getting residual income, they're seeing some type of result. The fundamental thing that would validate someone to be credible is that they're earning enough money every single month that covers their expenses in Auvoria Prime. That creates the credibility. So we go into sequence 3 is the features and benefits. So this is where instead of you explaining all the reasons why AP is great, you let Matt explain all the reasons why AP is great in your story. So I want to make sure we're on the same page here, okay? Let's say as an example, I go to Kanoa. I want Kanoa to join my team. I got permission to tell my story to Kanoa. So now he's listening to my story. I'm telling him how I met whoever's credible. So let's say it's Matt. I'm telling him how I met Matt. And then I'm telling him what Matt taught me about Auvoria Prime. So I met this guy, Matt. He was making great money with the software. He had a big team. He was growing every single week. He had money every single week that he was earning from the commissions. And he started telling me about Auvoria Prime. So you're explaining the benefits and the features of this company, but you're doing it in a way where you're not telling the person, I'm not telling Kanoa, Matt's telling Kanoa. Does that make sense? Because what that does is that allows the person to listen to what's being told because they don't feel like I'm forcing the features and benefits of Auvoria Prime down your throat. I'm just telling you a story. I'm just telling what Matt told me. This is just what I learned from Matt. But they're subconsciously taking in all the features and the benefits for themselves to validate if they should join. So, what are some of the benefits? Matt told me about how our software was uncomparable to any other softwares that anyone's ever seen in the Forex space, and it helped people get benefits that didn't have the time to learn how to trade from scratch. Matt began to talk to me about one-click trading and the concept of being able to use artificial intelligence and EAs to be able to win in the markets, but how they weren't always compliant if it's just auto traders in the United States. So the owners of Auvoria Prime built this amazing back-end, technologically crazy advanced structure to create a one-click trading system where you can press approve or decline and be able to enter sequences of trades that then allowed it to be something that can be publicly marketed in the United States that's never been done before. Matt then explained to me how this whole community gives weekly mentorship. They have the actual creators of these software give all of their tips, tricks, and secrets every single week on how they're running it so you can get the same experience as them, only for the cost of the service every single month. And the corporate staff has decades and decades of years of leadership and have scaled companies to billions of dollars and have this massive long-term vision with the company. And the relationships with the people is not only unprecedented, but the compensation plan is next level. And because of all those factors, there's a business that can give you the potential, whereas you build it, you could build it only one time. You don't have to have everyone quit and leave and go do different things. You can build a foundation and a legacy once that you can give to your whole family. Now, when you explain those features and benefits, I'm not telling Kanoa, Matt's telling me. But what's gonna happen when you're sharing your story, and at this point, in this sequence of the story, Matt's explaining it, they're not listening to who's sharing their information, they're listening to all of the benefits. But this is done in a way where they're gonna receive it. That's what you have to recognize with this sequencing of the way you tell your story. It's done in a way where they're listening because it's coming from you just sharing your story. So again, in your own personal narrative, when you go to sequence 3, who is the upline leader that's credible that explained to you all of the features and benefits of Auvoria Prime and why it was so special? Tell them that conversation. What was the conversation that you had with them? If you think this person is skeptical, tell them, oh, but I was skeptical about the legitimacy of the company. And then Matt answered why it was legitimate. I was skeptical about if I could get my product free within 30 days. And Matt told me how I was able to. You layer the same similarities and skepticism that they have in the narrative of your own story, and it subconsciously validates all of the reasons for wanting to get involved without you directly telling them why they need to, because it goes in a different narrative. So sequence 4 goes into so I already went into this, right? So this is more of the benefits. So the software compared to learning how to trade from scratch. We talked about one-click trading. We went through the retention. And then the last one, simple way to get subscription free every single month, right? Find 3, get 3, help 3. So that simple process. And then we have one of the most aggressive comp plans ever. in my personal opinion, thanks to Josh Fair. So, okay, so now let's go to sequence 4, right? So you went through the benefits and the features of the company. Sequence 4 is then till now. So after talking with Matt, right, after having that conversation with him, you decide to make the decision to get involved. So an example would be, after joining Auvoria Prime, I set a goal for myself that in the next 90 days, I'd be able to see enough profits between my software and my affiliate bonuses that I could use that money to cover my subscription every single month. And this would be an amazing story that I could share with people. And if I accomplished it, then I would be able to teach to thousands of other people too. Well, in 1 month that's happened, I've already enrolled 2 people and earned whatever amount from Neo. And if I could do that in 30 days, imagine what I could do in 90. So in this level of the story, you're explaining after talking to this credible human being, I decided to join, I set this goal for myself, and I accomplished that goal. Or if you didn't accomplish the goal yet, what little micro win has happened that you can capitalize on that makes them feel like, well, if they've already done that little bit of a win, they're definitely going to accomplish their goal. That way, the last thing that they hear is that you're moving towards your goal. It doesn't matter whether you've made $1,000 or $1 million. It's about them knowing that you're going down a direction with certainty and you're unwavered. Nothing can stop you. Your feet are planted. The ships are burnt. You are going and no one is going to stop you, but you want them to come with you and you can join arms and grow together. Now, when you do this part, this is what's really unique. This is where you do the question and answer. So once you tell the whole story, the point of the story is to get people having as many questions as possible. The point of the story is not for you to just rabble on all day and then just go, all right, bye. Our whole design is to get people to have questions. If you're at a point where you're taking 3-way calls and Zooms every single day and people are getting on the phone with questions ready for you nonstop and all you have to do is answer their questions, you're winning, because we subconsciously validate the reasons to join. So I want to read you this quote, okay? This is by an amazing mentor of mine named Simon Sinek. What he says, if you agree with somebody, don't nod yes. If you disagree with somebody, don't nod no. You'll be told your whole life that you need to learn to listen. I would say that you need to learn to be the last to speak. I see it in boardrooms every day of the week. Even people who consider themselves good leaders are put in a position, well, I just lost myself, who may actually be decent leaders, will walk into a room and say, here's the problem, here's what I think, but I'm interested in your opinion. Let's go around the room. But it's too late. The skill to hold your opinion to yourself until everyone has spoken does 2 things. 1, it gives everybody else the feeling that they've been heard, and it gives everyone else the ability to feel that they have been contributed to. And 2, you get the benefit of hearing what everybody else has to think before you render your opinion. The skill is really to keep your opinions to yourself, simply sit there, take it all in, and the only thing you're allowed to do is ask questions so that you can understand what they mean and why they have the opinion that they have. You have to understand from where they are speaking why they have the opinion they have, not just what they are saying. At the end, you will get your turn, and it sounds easy, but it's not. Practice being the last to speak. What this does is it gets you to a point where they will eventually have no more questions, so they're going to be in a position where they no longer have anything left to say. This is the last piece of this, guys, and this is where normally people get to a point where they don't know what to do. They get awkward, they kind of feel uncomfortable, but what you do is you assume they're going to get involved. You literally just, last thing is, assume the enrollment. You literally just assume they're going to join. And what I always leverage is a question where I ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 meaning you want to do nothing with the software, you never want to hear about it, and 10 is wanting to get set up right now, where's your mind at? And what this does is it gives them the opportunity to put a question out there, say maybe a 4, a 9, a 10, a 6, whatever it may be, but it gives you intelligence to know what they're referring to. And then I always ask them why you didn't choose a lower number. And the reason why we ask this is because it forces them to validate why they would want to be a part of AP. It forces them to go back in their catalog of your story and validate the features and benefits of this company and why they do want to be a part of it. And this is that last affirmation where they finally go, wait, maybe I do want to quit my job, or I do want to have more time with my family, or I do want to get to a point where I can help my mom with some of her taxes, whatever that may be. They give you that validation. And that right there, whatever the answer to this question is, that is their emotional trigger. The answer to this question is the reason that they will get involved. It's what gets their emotions to actually make a decision. And then you just assume they're going to join. And it's as simple as literally just going, fantastic. then let's just get you in the system, get your software up and running, get you added to our exclusive membership community, and then get busy helping you get your software free so you can, whatever their goal is, spend more time with your family, spend more time with your mom, cover those taxes. Is that fair enough to you? When you format your story in this way, the reason why this is so unique and so powerful is because it can duplicate. That's why this is so powerful. You can develop an amazing story yourself that starts working over and over and over again, but if you can teach people how to confidently share their story, you're teaching people how to sell with integrity, how to influence people to make buying decisions that leave a lasting impression. And this is the driving force of your business. This is what gives people a simple framework to build their entire organization on. And it gets them in a position where they can start practicing how to be at virtual events like this, how to be in front of the room, how to eventually position themselves so they can create their own legacy with Auvoria Prime. So practice the sequences, start developing your own personal story with AP, leverage the results and the relationships of your upline if you don't have the credibility yet, but start telling your story. I told my story when I had no money, a lot of debt, no results, and I did it over and over and over again. The more times I did it, the better I got, and it worked out pretty well for me. So guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Come on. Incredible job, Darik. So blessed to have you as a partner. Who thinks I'm blessed to have Mr. Darik Alexander as a great friend, as a partner? I know I am. Well, hey guys, I really want to encourage you guys. Remember those 3, 2, 1s. What did you learn? The 3 things you learned, the 2 things that inspired you, and the 1 thing that you are going to apply to your business. Again, it's one thing to know it. It's another thing to actually do it, to actually apply the things that you guys are learning today, to see that breakthrough, to see that transformation.